Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet It again for another tutorial. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous little V-stitch swatch. How gorgeous is it? Let me try from far away. I love, love, love. It is gorgeous. Now, if you're not sure what we are doing with our swatches here, for those of you joining us new, firstly, welcome. Secondly, we are making a swatch blanket this year towards the end of the year, and this is swatch number 4. I have a playlist to all the swatches that we are making in the description box down below, but if you want to know where we're up to, this was swatch number 1, which is your normal double crochet, swatch number 2, which is your lace or mesh stitch if you like, or fillet, and this is swatch number 3. We made this gorgeous love heart, and swatch number 4 will be this upside down V-stitch. Oh no, I was right the first time. Oops, get it right, Mary. The V-stitch. All right, so let's move all that out of the way. So if you want to make those other pieces that you just saw, they will be in the description box down below. Just click on the link, the playlist link, and start from swatch 1 and work your way up to the V-stitch, which is swatch number 4. If you don't want to make the blanket but you want to know how to do the V-stitch, then this is the tutorial for you. Let's get a nice close-up of the stitches. Very nice. You know what, the best way to do it? That's better. Here we go. That's better. A nice close-up of the V-stitch. How gorgeous is that? All right, what you will need for your tutorial is obviously your yarn. I'm using the Spot Saver acrylic. It is a 200 gram skein. Your piece will probably only take between 23 grams and 25 grams, depending on obviously your tension. I actually used 23 grams, but again, your tension may be a little bit different. Let's move that right out of the way. There we go. And this one is an acrylic yarn. The color is called Aqua. There it is, Aqua. Okay, and it calls for a 5mm. Let's get a nice close up there. That's better. It calls for a 5mm hook. Yours truly is using a 5mm hook all the way through our swatch blanket because I'll be using all of the Spot Saver yarn. Okay. Nothing else you need to know about it. It is obviously an acrylic, 100%. You will need your measuring tape to help you measure. Obviously, you're going to use your 5mm hook. You will need your scissors. You will need that darning sewing weaving needle. Now you can use any type that you like. Again, it's not necessary to use the same one that I'm using. Obviously, you'll be using that eventually. You will need some stitch markers. Now you can use these if you like, or you can use safety pins, hair pins, and if you don't like using stitch markers, just be wary of your last stitch that you need to go into. Okay, the last stitch, which is over there somewhere. When you slip stitch in there, you need to slip stitch between 2 loops on top and 1 loop on the bottom. That is if you don't like using your stitch markers. And that's it, guys. I'm not going to talk anymore. That's all you need to know to make your gorgeous V-stitch swatch. Good luck, guys. Alrighty guys, let's just start off with a quick slip knot, and that's grabbing your tail end, wrapping it around your finger once and then twice, holding it there and holding it there. All right, place your back loop halfway over your finger, hold it there, place the other loop all the way over, grabbing your hook and giving everything a tug. All right. Now for this tutorial, it's very simple. All we need to do is chain up 30. So a chain is yarn over your hook and pull a loop through once. Yarn over twice. Yarn over 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay, super duper easy. Now yarn over your hook. See all these chains here? We're going to pop our double crochets in there, and a double crochet is yarn over your hook. You're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and you're going to jump into that 4th stitch. Okay, let me get a nice close up so you know what you're looking at. you're skipping that right there, that first space you come to, the second, the third, and into that fourth, you've got your yarn over your hook. You're going to pop it just in the top loop of that fourth. Pull a loop through, and you should have 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now before you continue, grab your stitch marker. Okay. Oh, by the way, for those of you who do know, I did purchase these Clover stitch markers, right? I purchased a small pack, but the other day I went out and purchased a large pack. Look at the size of that. It's huge. So anyway, I'm sorry, I just got a little distracted there. I'm just going to pull this loop up so I can show you. This is a stitch that you are working in right there. See those 2 loops? You're working in that stitch at the moment. Where you need to put your stitch marker in is those 2 loops right there. It's a bit tight, but I thought if you pop that in now, it'll loosen it up a bit later for when we need to slip stitch in there, okay? So that's the stitch you're working in, and that's the one right next to it. It's got 2 loops on top and 1 loop on the bottom. A little bit tight. So there we go. All right. Now we're going to continue with a chain 1, and now yarn over your hook. You're going to pop another double crochet straight in there. You've got your yarn over your hook, straight in the same stitch that you're in, and you're going to put your hook in, pull a loop through, 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. All right, easy. Now yarn over your hook. You're going to do that stitch there, that's called the V stitch, where it's double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. You're going to do that across, but what we're going to do is skip some stitches, okay? So these are the stitches you're looking at, 1, 2, 3, and so on, okay? You've got your yarn over your hook, you're skipping 1, 2, and you're popping your hook in the third one with your V stitch. So it's a double crochet, like so. Chain 1, yarn over your hook, back in the same stitch with another double crochet. And that's pretty much all it is. You're skipping 2, jumping into your third with your V stitch. So yarn over your hook, 1, 2, and jump into that third with your double crochet. Chain 1 and double crochet. This is why I love the V stitch so much. Skip 1, 2, and 3, double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet, because it's very versatile, quick and easy, and it looks gorgeous as well. Yarn over your hook, skip 1, 2, and 3, and keep going. I'm going to go a little faster now, just to get to the end of that row, and I'm sorry about the noisy stitch marker. 1, 2, 3. It's going to happen all the way through the tutorial. Sorry, guys. Hopefully the little music in the background that you hear blocks it off a bit. 1, 2, 3. In actual fact, I'm not surprised you haven't been hearing our birds here at the moment. I've got the door open, and the birds are really quite loud this morning. Very loud. They must be having like a party in the tree, I think. 1, 2, 3. Keep going, just keep going. We're not that far off now. We've got a few stitches to go. 1, 2, 3. With that there, the last one in there. Now what you should have at the end of this row is your 1 and your 2 left. We're going to pop a double crochet in your last stitch. All right, so you're just skipping that one there and popping your double crochet in there. Okay, so your chain 3s here will act as a double crochet. All right, now best part is, now this is the part where you need to decide which side you want to turn your work. Would you like to turn your work this way, or would you like to turn your work this way? Now it depends on what is easier for you. I usually use turning my work like the page in a book. All right, but whatever you do, just keep consistent when turning your work. That's all. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to turn it like turning the page in a book. and then I'm going to pop a single crochet in that stitch. And if you're not sure what a single crochet is, you just pop your hook in. You're not putting any loops or anything. Pop your hook in the stitch, and the stitch you're popping it in is that right there. So you've got 2 loops on top and 1 on the bottom. Okay, so pop your hook in that stitch. Notice how I'm holding the stitch because it helps a little. Don't hold it too loose or you'll end up with a loose stitch. So I pop my hook in the stitch. I pull a loop through. I have 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. And from here, you see these 2 loops right here. You're going to skip that first loop. You're going to jump into the second loop with your hook, pull a loop through, and you've got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. And what you've done is a single crochet on top of the side stitch of your single crochet. And you're going to grab another stitch marker. Okay, so I'm going to grab my stitch marker. I keep saying that, but I'm kind of stuck in one hand. All right, so see those 2 loops right there? You are popping your stitch marker in there. All right, and what I did just now was I grabbed, I'm going to pull that loop up in a minute, you don't have to do that, the other stitch marker that was a clover one. Look at the difference between the sizes. They're both clover, but one pack is a small size and one pack is a big size. So you have a choice of using larger or smaller. You don't have to purchase these. You can actually use hairpins, you can use paper clips, you can use whatever you want, safety pins. It doesn't have to be a stitch marker, all right? All right, so see your space that you've got here. You don't need that one. See that space that you've got with your V from the previous round? See that chain right there? You're going to put a double crochet. You're actually going to put a V-stitch in that space. So you're going to start with your double crochet, pop it in the space, not the stitch, just the space. Pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Chain 1. Okay? You're going to do another double crochet in the same space, like so. Super duper easy. And then you're going to pop your yarn over your hook. You're going to skip that double crochet, your next double crochet, and in your very next V-stitch space, you're going to pop another V-stitch. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet. Okay, you're going to do the same. Yarn over your hook, skip 1 double crochet, the next double crochet, and in that V-stitch, you are popping your V-stitch. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. We'll start using the lingo now, hey? All right, so all you're doing is skipping everything, jumping into your next V-stitch with a V-stitch. And there goes that stitch marker again, making noise all over the table. I'll try and lift it a little bit. It's not going to work. And the bigger it gets, the noisier it gets too. Jump into your next one. All right. And into your next one. Chain 1, double crochet. Into your next one. And here we have our very last V-stitch, and then we have this here. So let's just quickly do our V-stitch, which is there. All right. Now, you have your last double crochet there, and then you have this chain stitch with your stitch marker in there. In that stitch, where that stitch marker is, you're going to put just 1 double crochet. So yarn over your hook, pop it in the stitch with your stitch marker, or where your stitch marker is. You'll probably find it's a little bit tight. Like mine's really tight. It happens. All right, just take out that stitch marker if it helps. Okay, and just do your double crochet like normal, but you're doing it in that stitch right there. All right, so what you have is, let me show you, your V-stitch. Now, it does look great, but it will look better later once you've done a few rows. Grabbing your little measuring tape and just measure from there all the way to there. Now, mine measures that tiny, well, not even, it's pretty much the same as 8 inches and 20 centimetres. sort of like 20.5 centimetres. Oh, let me get a close up for you. Sorry about that. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, it's just on 8. Tiny little bit over. But as you go along, oh, sorry about that. I threw it away. But as you go along, if you're anything like me, your work does tend to tighten up a little bit. This will tighten up a little bit. However, if you crochet very loosely and yours is, let me show you again, and yours is that little bit more, let's say it's that much, that's okay. But if it's like that much more than 8 inches or 20 centimetres, then you need to take your V-stitch rows undone, restart again, and do less chains, okay? And that way your piece will become that little bit shorter. Now, if it's too short, once again, you would need to take undone your rows, add another 3 chains. So you're taking off 3 chains if it's too big, you're adding 3 chains if it's too small, all right? Otherwise, if it's a tiny, tiny little bit big, which is this one here, it's very tiny, that will be okay. Don't stress, because most of our squares, I mean swatches, most of them are pretty much the same, but some of them can be that tiny, tiny little bit smaller. It's very minimal, tiny, tiny little bit. And this one here is pretty much the right size. Okay, so oops. So you may have, they may come up a little bit smaller than the other, and they're like a millimetre, a tiny little bit. Don't stress, because we are actually going to be crocheting them together like so. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that's what we're going to be doing. All right, and we'll have a crochet. I haven't decided whether it's single, half double, double, or a fancy stitch. I haven't decided yet. Oh, you like fancy? Oh, we may have to consider fancy. What do you reckon? Oh, no, maybe not. All right, so that's, don't stress too much. All right, now you're probably wondering, why is she showing us the size now for? We haven't finished yet. Oh, you're going to go ahead and do it yourself now. What? I wouldn't leave you in a lurch. Let's try that first part again. Remember to turn your work the way you would turn it normally, whichever way that is. Mine was like the page in a book. Now you're going to pop that single crochet. If you remember correctly, we put a single crochet in that first stitch. You're going to pop your single crochet in there. So pop your hook in, pull a loop through, and it pays to hold your stitch when you're doing this stitch. 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Then you're going to do the side stitch again. Remember that one, not the first loop you see, but your second loop. Putting your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, grabbing your stitch marker. Now I do prefer the larger ones in this particular piece, so there you go. Not that that is any difference to anyone, but it's just preference. Now what you're going to do is exactly the same thing you did in this round. You're just going to jump in every V-stitch space. Just be wary not to jump into the spaces between the V-stitches. Okay, to remember what you're doing, you're going to skip that first double crochet, jump into your V-stitch with a V-stitch. Use the jargon, use the language. It helps you to remember what you're doing. And you're skipping 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets into the V-stitch space with a V-stitch. Now, if it's easier for you to remember the other way, which is just going into every V-stitch with a V-stitch. Just V-stitching it and V-stitch into the next V-stitch, like so. And V-stitch into the next V-stitch, like so. This is a sort of stitch that you can make blankets with. You can even make tops out of. We've actually made one. What am I saying? We've made a top out of the V-stitch. We have made a summer shirt, or a summer top, if you will. I'll pop a link to that top in a description box down below. It's called the V-stitch top. So you can do anything you want with a V-stitch. It's super duper easy. Now remember, this is the space before the end of the row, so you're still putting your V-stitch there. And in that very last stitch where your stitch marker is, you're doing so you're skipping your double crochet and you're doing a normal double crochet in that stitch. Could have taken that stitch marker out, sorry about that. Yep, I do like the bigger ones. How about that? Oh, there you go. All right, so there you have it. There is the start. Now you might find if you did that measurement again, it would have closed up a little. See? So that's my stitches. It closes it up a little. Yours might stretch it out. Yours might close up a little bit more. So just be wary of your measurement. Don't stress. Again, if it's a tiny, tiny little bit, just a very little bit out, that's not a problem. All right? Because I'll show you at the end of our swatches when we're ready to crochet the pieces together, how to stretch them all to make your largest piece. But if your largest piece is like, you know, this far out, that's no good. You just want it, if it's a tiny little bit out, it doesn't matter. But if it's all the way out here, that's no good. You need to take your work undone and you need to change the amount of stitches. If it's too big, take everything undone and take off 3 chains. So do 27 chains. Okay, if it's too small, take it all undone, go back to the chains, add another 3 chains. All right, so that's the difference between increasing and decreasing when you want to make a V-stitch. All right, so guess what I want you to do? I'm going to do that first single crochet with you, just quickly, and then you're going to head off on your own, and I'll tell you exactly how many rows you need to do. So turn your work again like you're turning your page in a book. Pop your hook in that first stitch right there. Pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Now remember the side stitch, not the first one, but your second one. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Grabbing your stitch marker. If you don't grab your stitch marker, it can be a little bit difficult to find that stitch at the end of the row. If you find that it's easier without the stitch markers, by all means go for it. But I find it a lot easier to find it at the end of the row. So, okay. So what you're doing, remember we're missing that first little gap there. It's not even a gap. It's really just the next stitch, if you think about it. If you're looking on top, that's the stitch. These little V's you see here are the stitches. So you're jumping straight into your V-stitch space with a V-stitch. Super duper easy. And into your next. And V-stitch, and I'm not going to go across the rest of the row because you are going to head off on your own. So what I would like for you to do, the easy part, is to repeat this row over and over again, the one that we just did right here. Now you've already started it anyway, so repeat it over and over again for, now let me see, roughly around 14 rows, okay? So between 13 and 14 rows, just make sure that you are measuring yours as you go along, okay? And I found that 14 rows should make exactly 20 centimeters or 8 inches, and that's where you need to be. All right, so where you need to be is like that. Let's bring that down. Whoops, bring that down, Langsel. You need to be right there. Okay, so you need to make as many rows as you get to the 20 centimeter mark or the 8-inch mark, and I roughly would say around 14. However, it depends on how tightly or how loosely that you crochet. Okay, so go ahead and do your 13 or 14 rows, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Get to your very last V-stitch right there. Do your very last V-stitch and wait for me there. Ta-da! There you go. All done. So yours truly did do 14 rows, okay? And I did ask you to get to the end of your last row, do your V-stitch, and then you still have your stitch marker there. You're just going to do a normal double crochet in your stitch marker like you would any other row, like that. Pull a loop through, like so. I grab your scissors, giving your work a cut. Now you can cut it as long as you like or as short as you like. I like to leave a fairly long tail. Like it's a fairly long tail. It's just for weaving in purpose. It's not for anything fancy. Take out your stitch marker, and if you've got one on that end, take that out as well. Grabbing your darning weaving needle. Now I'm not going to weave this first one in. You can do that later. I'm just going to quickly show you how to do this one here. The very last one. Lots of people have trouble with this last one, so I'm going to show you how to do it real quickly. So you have your work there. Okay, this is where we finished off. Yes? Now, right sides, wrong sides. What is the right side? What's the wrong side? I hear you ask. Initially, when you are chaining up your chains and then you turn around and do your first double crochet row, initially that would be the right side of your work. Your first double crochet, your first single crochet, half double, your first pattern row, whatever, will usually be your right side, okay? But in this case, it kind of doesn't matter because we're going this way, we're turning, going that way, and so on and so on and so on. So it's kind of a little bit all over the place. If you accidentally put it on the wrong side, it won't be that noticeable, okay? But I do prefer to have the right side on the right side. That's just, me being pedantic. All right, so this is, let's just say for argument's sake, this is your right side. Let me bring that up. What you would like to do is really weave in your ends on the wrong side, okay, of your work. Again, not necessary. If you weave them in properly, you won't have an issue, okay? So what I'm going to do with this stitch, okay, you can actually, there are many ways you can do it. You can go back into a side stitch there, or you can just go down, whichever suits you. I'm just going to literally pop my needle, and you don't have to use this kind of needle, I'm just using it at the moment. Go into the very bottom loop, right? Not a stitch, just a loop. Okay, when you pull back, and your little stitch should be hidden. Okay, so now don't pull too tightly, just keep going. Find another loop somewhere you like. Okay, you can split the yarn too if you like. Remember, before you do any of this, you must check that your work is perfect. Just in case you find a mistake down there somewhere, you're not going to be able to take this undone. If you are splitting yarn like I do, like that, which is an absolute no-no, right? If you're splitting it, it's kind of a no-no in crochet. But the reason I do it is so that it doesn't come undone, okay? Not because I just want to upset everyone and make everybody mad. Oh, you shouldn't do that. I just do it so that it doesn't come undone. And then what you do is you find an area where there's a whole lot of stitches and you can bring that through. Being careful not to let your stitch show on this side, your needle show on this side. Once you've gone down one way, go back in another area. Oh, I've done that one already. Let's go here. In another area, again, if you like splitting stitches, you don't need to if you find that not right. Okay, one more time. If you're new to crochet, you won't know this, but yours truly is very, very pedantic on weaving in ends, so I overdo it. Okay, now, again, not necessary to do that third time at all. And what you do, just grab your little scissors, give it a cut. You might find that little bit sticking out there. If you just give it a bit of a tug, it disappears in between your stitches that you just made. All right, now don't stress too much about that later. We're going to be crocheting over that area anyway later, so don't stress. Now head off on your own and complete this other end once again, weaving it at the back, down the side, along the bottom, in through stitches, anywhere you feel comfortable enough. Go ahead, weave in your end. You have now completed, I've got to find my swatches again. Oh, where are they? Where are they, swatches? Swatch number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ah. And there you go, guys. You have your 4 swatches. Swatch number 1 is your double crochet. Swatch number 2 is your filet lace. Swatch number 3 is your love heart gorgeous. Swatch number 4 is your V-stitch swatch. Now, if you want to make the other swatches and you haven't started yet, I will leave a playlist to the Swatch Blanket for 2021 in the description box down below. The little arrow thing, point down into there, and you can go ahead and start them. Remember, you have a whole year to make this blanket, so don't stress too much. Each swatch can be made on your own time, and that's the best part. So weave in this end, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all those wonderful things that you guys already do for me. And all I want to say right now is, very nice. Love the V-stitch. Ciao for now.